Thank you very much. This is definitely not the 3-foot podium that you guys told me about. Guys, thank you very much for coming out tonight. You guys look amazing. If you guys would give me permission, before I start, I'd like to thank my very supportive wife, Sarah. That's Sarah with no H. No H. She agreed to come celebrate her birthday with me at the Jamboree, so wish her a happy birthday. So when Dow approached me to be the guest speaker tonight, I was very surprised. I was taken back, I was excited, but in the back of my head I really thought he was joking. I thought, well, are all the worthy speakers on some kind of Halloween vacation? Or I know Ras got his hip replaced, so maybe that's why you're asking me. Or maybe we're gonna do a Jamboree in Espanol tonight. But no, in all seriousness, I was excited. I was excited because a long time ago, whether you knew it or not, you and I were connected. And so when I was asked to speak, I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll just talk a little bit about my life and where I came from and how I got here now. And so I'll give you a little synopsis of my life. Try not to fall asleep. And if you do, make sure you don't have food in your mouth. So I was born in Medellin, Colombia in 1976. That's South America. So if I had $1 for every time someone says, oh, Colombia, wow, how many times have you been to the White House? I'm like, no, not District of Columbia, South America. 2 O's, 2 O's. So I was born in Medellin, Colombia, and I lived there with my father, my mother, my younger brother, my older sister, and we lived in a 500 square foot studio apartment. We had one bed, we had no kitchen, no pantry, no hot water, no heating and cooling. But we were happy. We were a happy family. I remember a lot of laughter, and of course I remember a lot of soccer. On my mother's side, she was one of 15. I had 8 uncles and 6 aunts, and they all had kids. So apparently my grandparents had no hobbies. So as you can imagine, pretty much everybody either played soccer or followed soccer passionately, as did I. And so for as long as I can remember, all I wanted to be was a professional soccer player. In 1981, we had this great opportunity to move to the United States in search of the American dream. And it was awesome. I still remember it like it was yesterday. We landed in Houston, Texas. It was December of 1981. Ronald Reagan was our president. IBM sold their first PC computer, and the Torres family was chasing the American dream. We lived in an apartment called Apple Tree Apartments. We now upgraded to a 1,000 square foot apartment with a bedroom. We had a kitchen, we had a refrigerator, we had hot water, which was amazing. I still remember the battles I had with my sister as to who was gonna take a hot bath first. So that was always exciting. My father started out as a carpenter. My mother eventually became a house cleaner. I remember being 7 years old and walking around affluent neighborhoods with my mother, knocking on doors, translating for her to see if anybody needed a cleaning lady. So those were great memories that I have of my biological parents. Now I could continue to bore you and try and put you to sleep, but I'll save you the hassle, and I'll leave out the why and how I was adopted. But in 1986, I was invited to play as a guest player on a traveling team. And fortunately for me, I was adopted by my soccer coach, Carlos Clark. Eventually, I moved to that team, and I continued to play soccer as I moved into my adoptive family's house. In that house, they had a son that was the same age as I was, and we all shared the same passion and love for soccer. But now, academics and education took a precedence, which was not in my life before. So where I thought I wanted to be a professional soccer player, now I had no choice but to go to college before I attempted to go pro. So in 1989, I was invited to play for the South Texas State team. I had some success there, and then I was invited to play in the Olympic Development Program for Region 3. And this is where I met some of my future Creighton teammates. Ross Polly, our women's head coach, was on that team. Richard Mulrooney, who was just here a couple of weeks ago as the head coach for Memphis, was on that team. I got to meet Coach Bolovich in the Olympic Development Program, and I got to meet Coach Simon, who ultimately was one of the guys that helped me come to Creighton. So it was fate for me. So as I figured out where I wanted to go to school, I made a couple visits, and Creighton was my third visit. When I landed in Omaha, which before I had no idea where that was, and when I asked Coach Simon, I said, Coach, you know, this sounds great, but where is Omaha, Nebraska? He says to me, go home, open your almanac, your atlas, and look for the staple right in the middle of the book. He was right. It was right in the middle. Omaha, Nebraska was right where that staple was. He was right. So I come on my visit, I step on campus, I'm loving it. I love the closeness of campus. I love how small it is and how everybody interacts with one another. Everybody knows each other. I went to a psychology class. I love how the professors interacted with the students. And lastly, I went to a pregame meal the following morning. So the game was going to be in the afternoon at Tranquility Park. And we were at Coach Simon's house. And at the time, another Creighton great, his girlfriend Pam, was making pancakes for the whole team. And I was just watching these guys interacting. And it really did seem like a family. And I know it sounds cliche, because this is what we tell our recruits, welcome to the Creighton family. But we mean that. We definitely mean that. And I definitely felt that as a recruit on that morning. So we go out to Tranquility Park. I'm watching some of these pioneers. You might know some of them. Peanut Filson, Brian Kamler, Ray Ferry, Billy Duranzo, all these guys that I looked up to, guys that I wanted to be like, guys that I wanted to emulate and be part of. They go out and they smash Southwestern Missouri State, 7-1. That was pretty much the only thing that was keeping me afloat, because I was freezing. It was like 42 degrees. I was on my third hot cocoa. I'm like, geez, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And as long as I'm not on the bench, I got to be out there running, because I'm freezing. Right? But it was great to see these guys that I just spent brunch with literally 3.5 hours before, and they were just so close-knit and they acted like a family. To see them put that into action on the field, it was just amazing to watch. So that evening before I left, I was having conversations with Coach Warming, and he says, hey, Johnny, do you have any questions for me? I said, you know what? I do. I have one. You know, as a South American who was born right next to the equator, man, this weather is going to be kind of tough for me. I said, what was the temperature? He says, oh, it was about 42. I said, 42. All right. I said, Coach Warming, my question to you is, does it ever get any colder than this? He looked right at me, he goes, not a chance, Johnny. That's obviously as any good recruiter would say, right? Right? So, luckily for me, I made my mind up pretty quickly. I flew home. I spoke to my parents, my adoptive parents, and I let them know that this is where I wanted to be. This is where I felt great. But I also knew that we wouldn't be able to afford it as a family. And that's where you come in. And that's where our connection comes in. Had it not been for you and our connection, I would have never been able to change my life path. To come to Creighton, to become the person I am, to get a scholarship to come here and compete at the Division I level, to make my dreams come true. You guys allowed me to come here, get exposure, play pro. You allowed me the opportunity to go overseas and get to know other cultures. You allowed me the opportunity to earn a great degree. You allowed me the opportunity to have these friendships that I've built, that I still cultivate even decades later. And it's because of you guys. Without you guys, Creighton Athletics would not exist. It means the world to Creighton Athletics. And we need this to be able to bring the thousands before us and the thousands after us. Yeah? Thank you. You know, a lot of times it comes down to $5,000 or $10,000 if we're able to land the next All-American for Creighton University, right? And your support, your donorship is invaluable, you know? So I thank you guys for coming out tonight. Hopefully you guys will be out in full force tomorrow to support the volleyball team, who is, like we heard today, top 10 in the country. They play at 5. And our boys who've sacrificed so much this year, we're fighting for first place in the Big East, and we'll be out at Morrison at 7 p.m. Thank you very much. Go Jays.